Welcome to another edition of Quoth the Raven, Louis Bright Raven. I'm your host, Louis Bright Raven, 30-year veteran writer, illustrator, editor, and publisher of comic, science fiction, fantasy, horror, and role-playing games. I am joined, if you can see him, right at the very, my finger is, the midnight is here. He's just sleeping on the floor there. Back there, so he is there. So you can say hello to him if you happen to walk in. We got a lot to talk about today. It's a mega show. We're going to start with crowdfunding, and then we'll do comic reviews. So, crowdfunding. What am I talking about this week? Well, the first thing we're going to talk about is Aaron Lopresti's Wraith of God Blood Hunters. And this, of course, is got 39 hours left. He's well past his goal of 105,000. Got almost 1,500 backers. We'd like to see it get to 1,500 before the time is up. I'm sure he will, but let's try and get him up there on the backers, folks. And this is his second series of Wraith of God, second book, Blood Hunters. It's about a vampire. The character, rather, is battling a vampire and his brides in the Old West of 1883. Let's take a quick look at the video. North Free is in the house, and he's just listening while he works. That's fine. Okay, now, of course, this has not just Wraith of God. This is a anthology book. It's going to be featuring, if you got a chance to watch the video, Wraith of God and two more stories. Returning Garbage Man story, Return of the Living Jed, which is a zombie type story against Garbage Man, and a new feature called The Nightclub, which I don't know if it's going to be called The Nightclub or not, because, well, Mark Miller has a nightclub book through Image, and there might be some legal entanglements. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know. Hopefully Aaron will be able to just call it The Nightclub, and no one will have a complaint, but we'll see. Also, because we've had so much success, or I shouldn't say we, should say he has had so much success, there should be a fourth story added to the book for another character property that he has, Kit Carter. So you'll get 4 stories in the book now. Let's take a look at the options. It's going to be a 84 plus page comic, of course, full length Wraith of God story, backup stories featuring Garbage Man and a Nightclub. You can get all the different covers. There's 4 different covers, plus I think there's 4 now. It says 3, but I think there's 4 now. 4 covers now. Of course, the first story is the Wraith of God and Esther, his sidekick or partner, whichever you prefer, return to battle Count Korvac, a vampire looking to take over a growing Tennessee town with the help of his blood-sucking brides in 1883. The heroes are trying to define the relationship as their faith is tested by the dark evil of the power-hungry vampire. The backup feature, Garbage Man returns to face off against a family of zombies he discovers deep in the rural woods outside of Murnau City, but The Walking Dead is only half of the story, as he finds himself in more danger than he could possibly imagine. And then the Nightclub gets their first solo adventure when they must stop an elephant-like creature from destroying Murnau City, who is a strange antagonist, and what does the enigmatic Aeon Chance have to play? And there is a new cover, again, like I said, painted by Simon Bisley that you can order as well, in addition to the other 3 covers that Aaron has done. This is the wraparound cover without trade dress by Aaron. This is the B cover. Which is pretty cool looking, I think. And then the C cover, which is another retro type cover, homaging the classic 1970s monster comics from DC. Retro Tomb of Dracula tribute cover, basically. Here's some of the first few pages of the Wraith of God story. It looks pretty cool, And then here's some of the backup pages for, or not the backup page, but pages for the backup story by Garbage Man with colors by Dan Lawless. This is one of the things that Aaron does really well. He puts the names of the stories into the backgrounds like this, and I really like that. It's a nice throwback effect. A lot of other people don't do that these days, and I wish they would, but maybe they're just not talented enough to figure out how to do it. I don't know. There's a print of Garbage Man facing off against a bunch of jack-o'-lantern people. You get a Wraith of God Roughs Volume 2, which is a 48 pages of layouts for the book, signed and numbered by Aaron Lopresti. You can get if you pre-ordered it only, it was pre-order exclusive, you've got a Merv the Space Chimp, which is Kit Carter's sidekick in her strip. And, of course, there are stretch goals. Of course, we have passed the 100,000 marks. There will be a 15 pages of Kit Carter adventure story in the book as well. And if you can get to 120,000, then you'll get a Queen of Hearts Esther playing card to go with the Wraith of God playing card that you got from the last campaign. So there's a lot of stuff still to go. What else can we buy here? Well, we can get the cover A for $25, the cover B for $25, the cover C for $25. There is an Empire logo cap. The Simon Bisley cover is $25. There's a Dale Keown Werewolf t-shirt for $30, a Garbage Man t-shirt for $30, a Wraith of God t-shirt for $30, all 3 t-shirts for plus sizes for XX are $35, of course. If you get Roughs 2 with Blood Hunters, it costs $40. If you want one of everything, that's all the Wraith of God stuff, Saved from a Trash sketchbooks, all kinds of stuff. It's $120. The trading card is sold out, of course. The original Garbage Man art was sold out for the print. Quite a few other things have sold out, unfortunately, on there. But he had quite a bit of stuff there that was worth checking out. I bought the B cover and 2 of the t-shirts. I got the Garbage Man t-shirt and the Werewolf t-shirt because I already had the Wraith of God t-shirt. So that's what I bought. North Free asks, never read Garbage Man. Is it any good? Yes, it is. There is a Garbage Man trade paperback as well that you can get through Dark Horse Comics. Originally, it was kind of a deal between Aaron and DC to replace Swamp Thing because they couldn't get Swamp Thing out of Vertigo. But then once they got the character away from Vertigo, they didn't need the character anymore. And luckily, Dan DiDio was kind enough to relinquish the rights back to Aaron. So he rewrote the first storyline in the first graphic novel through Dark Horse as a re-release and removed the DC character elements and added the nightclub to them. Originally, it was, of course, Batman appeared in the DC version, but now it's critter-owned. He's got the nightclub in there. So you can get that. You should be able to find it either through Amazon or darkhorse.com. Hopefully they still got stuff in stock on that. So again, we are at, let's see, what are we at here? $105,061. I'll go ahead and hit the link there for you all. There is the Indiegogo link to go to. There's also a link in the description of this video below. There is, like I say, about 39 hours left. I'm going to go ahead and refresh this page real quick, see if it's growing any. You never know. It has. It's gone up to $302. So there's a couple of backers with 37 hours left. So a little bit more, about a day and a half left to go on this particular campaign. All right, our next one will be Gary Shipman. Titan Mouse of Might, Volume 3, Miasma. This is also through Indiegogo. Let me go ahead and put that there for you real quick. Again, I'll take it out and show you again, but it's got 6 days left, a little over $7,000 backed. It is filled, or will be fulfilled. You know, it's past its goal. 131 backers. I'd like to see that get up to around 200 backers before the end of the campaign, if possible. Let's go ahead and take a look at this page. He doesn't have a video. Of course, you can get Titan Deluxe Edition with art, Titan Magnet, digital copy of Volume 3 for $10, digital key, not digital, but a regular keychain for $10. The actual hardcover volume is $25. There's a metal print for $30. There's a Titan 2 metal print for $30 and a title, another metal print. The deluxe hardcover edition is $50. Or you can, if you haven't bought the earlier two editions, you can get volumes 1 through 3 hardcover for $70. I have already bought the first 2 issues and reviewed them in the past. Very well done series. Yes, Titan looks a little bit like a mouse in the Batman costume. That's kind of the point, I guess. He's just doing it there. But, there's an artist edition for $100. Again, you can get the deluxe editions. There's also interior art pages. You can actually pick the pages of interior art you want. There's 68 pages, 68 claimed. Nobody's bought any of the pages. They are expensive at $600 a page, but you're getting original artwork. So, and one of the things about Gary is that he does things online all the time. If you go to his YouTube channel, he's actually drawing the book on the show all the time. So you actually get to see the actual pages from the story as they're being made. So you can easily pick what pages you want if you want to buy them. And of course, if you want Titan number 1 original art, cover art is $1,000. So there's a lot of stuff to pick from. He doesn't have a whole lot of stretch goal per se. What he does for stretch goals, instead of giving you guys something, he gives away a complete set of the story to someone who's disabled, it's kind of like I'm trying to think, Make-A-Wish Foundation type stuff. That's what he tends to do with this campaign, which is interesting. It's a different approach, I think. Again, gift box through Samaritan's Purse is what they call it, but they've sent 3 gift boxes. Then they make the Titan Metal Perks available. That was unlocked. They sent a 4th gift box, a Titan Mouse letter call. Okay, fine. That means in the deluxe edition, your letters and comments will appear, and you can send your letters to that or email there. Then they sent a 5th gift box to a child through Samaritan's Purse. There's a magnet that everybody's going to get. The physical book backers will get the Titan magnet. A 6th gift box to a child through Samaritan's Purse, and then the 7th K will, which I think it's unlocked. They'll send it again, and that's what he's going to do. Is just try and keep sending gift boxes to these kids. So I think that's pretty cool that he does that. Here's some of the preview pages from the new issue. Gary has a very unique style, very influential variety of stuff that he works from. He can take from Dave Sim and Frank Miller and John Byrne and just, Will Eisner. You can see all these different people in his artwork, and it's pretty cool when he does it. Just a really good illustrator overall. As you can see, he's kind of going through these weird dream type sequence with this other mouse. revisiting his past, fighting against the scientist who injected him with a serum that gave him his superpowers, and his girlfriend Mouse, and having to fight an evil clone of himself. Just a really wild storyline. And here he is fighting a robot Iron Mouse type character. And you can also get your art into the Titan 3 fan art contest and get printed in a deluxe edition. And your art could be used as a deluxe perk, sticker, bookmark, or trading card, the winner's choice as well. And here's some of the ones that have already been pitched. So lots of cool stuff there. Again, there's 6 days left. I'd like to see it get up to around 200 backers. We're at 131. Hopefully you guys can check that out if you haven't already. Good artist, but not $600 good. Well, that's debatable. I don't know. I mean, when you look at the amount of time he's putting into the pages and cost of shipping and cost of supplies and stuff like that, I don't know. Certainly understand why you wouldn't want to spend that much, so it's perfectly fine if you don't want to. But I can certainly see where he's coming from for his page rate as well. I think part of that is because so many artists these days are undervaluing themselves, and there's so many pages that are, it's kind of hurting the market. So him putting it at that price point, I think it's actually pretty fair. Okay. Our next one for talking about is our good friend Mark Andrew Smith and his book Gladstone's Revenge. This is a double-paged 40-page story from the Gladstone School for World Conquerors. It's a one-shot written by David Michelinie with art by regular artist for the series Armand Villevert. Hey, Marv, the Sin Killer's in the house. It has been a while. I'm on a show early enough that you can watch the show and be with us, I guess. Let's go ahead and take a look at this one real quick. There's 5 days to go. They're a little bit short of their goal. Got about $535 left to get to their goal.
This is Mark Smith, the co-creator of Gladstone School for World Conquerors. This past year, we invited many creative teams to play in the Gladstone School for World Conquerors sandbox. Right now, we have a new 40-page one-shot in the Gladstone School for World Conquerors universe that I couldn't be more excited about. Gladstone's Revenge is written by legendary writer David Michelinie, creator of Venom, Carnage, and many other characters from popular culture. Gladstone's Revenge is drawn by Armand Villevert. The Kickstarter also features a limited edition cover by comics legend Howard Chaykin, which you can only get here for a limited time. Our Kickstarter is currently live. Hop over to the Kickstarter page, pick up some great comics and graphic novels, and support the creation of Gladstone School for World Conquerors. Thank you.
Gladstone School for World Conquerors is the elite academy for the children of the world's greatest supervillains. Follow Kid Nefarious, Mummy Girl, Martian Jones, Ghost Girl, and the Skull Brothers as they immerse themselves in everything from intergalactic conquest to a history of villainy.
can see they're at 91% of their goal. Mark's a little bit concerned that he might not get there. I don't know. I think he should get there, but frankly, I think he should already be well past where it's at. But the story is basically about the original founder of the school, Gladstone's school, Ashley Gladstone, disappeared, and nobody knows where he's at, but they don't realize that he's been watching them all along because the current headmaster of the school, Ironsides, defeated him and kind of locked him away in the school somewhere. I'm not going to tell you where. But with the probationary student Storm Treader at his side, Gladstone will put his plans to take back his school, and take back the students, Kid Nefarious, Mummy Girl, Martian Jones, the Skull Brothers, and Ghost Girl to the test to see where their skills are and where their true loyalties lie. So are they students of the school or are they students of Ironside? And you can get the actual original book, one copy, for $25. That's what I bought. Digital copy is $16. The hardcover for the original 3 hardcovers you can buy for $25 or more. The Chaikin cover, which we'll find here real quick here. Let me find a Chaikin cover real quick here. That's Armand's cover. This is Chaikin's cover. So if you're into Howard Chaikin, that's the cover you want. The Chaikin cover is $35. The double features, you get both of the Gladstone School for World Conquerors double feature books featuring the Skull Brothers and Martian Jones and Ghost Girl and Mama Girl. There are 4 different versions, one with each cover for each one of those: Skull Brothers, Martian Jones, Ghost Girl, Mama Girl. There's a whole survey thing you can read there. I've already got all that stuff, so I didn't need to get it. But lots of cool stuff. Let's see. You can, for $60, if you're into the digital side of things, you can get everything that's been published to date, totaling around 710 pages, rather, of Gladstone stories for $60. You can buy both of the Revenge covers for this particular book, Howard Chaikin and Armand Vilbert, for $60. Again, all 3 Gladstones hardcovers, 1, 2, and 3, for $70. Just a whole lot of different variety of that. Let's go ahead and share that Kickstarter address for you. Again, the link is also in the description of the video. We're going to go back here and go up again so you guys can see some of the actual story pages here. Think of it as teams fighting. Imagine if you had the New Mutants fighting the X-Men in the Danger Room. That's kind of what they got going on here with different students fighting each other. This is Kid Nefarious. The female behind him is Ghost Girl. The guy with the antennas is Martian Jones. Let's see. Mummy Girl's in the top right corner there. The guy with the horns, the 2 guys with the horns are the Skull Brothers. So you see almost all of them there. I don't know necessarily who the other side is, but they're other students at the school. This is Ironsides. And that's Storm Treader, of course. Yep, shaking. So there's quite a bit of stuff there worth getting. Whoops. Okay. Again, I did get the basic package for $25 on that one. Okay. Our next book that we want to share and talk about is Halloween House 2 by Kayla Peters. It's just passed its goal of $300. Has 27 backers with 41 hours to go. I haven't backed this one yet. I will back it. It's just a little short comic book, 16 pages, about Halloween monsters who adopted a human adopted daughter named Annie. But what they don't know is that Annie's kind of like the homicidal maniac. So last year, Kayla produced the first one, and then this one is going to do another one. I'm going to buy probably both. Editions. There's a digital house. For $2, you can get both of them for digital PDFs, which is a 12-page comic for Halloween House 1 and 16 for this one. So $3 for 28 pages on a digital PDF. $8. Apparently, you can only get it in Richmond only, I guess. I don't know. Okay, here's the shipping option. Okay. So you can get both the Halloween print and the other, which is what I want to get. So we'll see. But I'll figure out which one I'm getting. And, of course, you can hear my kitty crying. Come here. What you crying about? What you crying about? Where you at? There you is. Come here. Oh, that's right. Lay down. You don't want to come on the screen. No, I don't want to be. I don't want to be seen. I don't want to be seen. Come here, you little snot. Here he is. We're going to show the kitty. There he is. We got to show the kitty. Got to give the fans what they want, little one. Yeah. Got to give the fans what they want. They want to see the kitty. But I don't want to be on screen. I like to hide. Yes. Kitty-saurus, yes. Kitty Kaiju. Or Kaiju Kitty. Goes and smashes through everything, and you think he would if you saw him sometimes. Middle of the night, he's just running through the house. You think you're getting a train coming through your house. But anyway, going back to Halloween book here, Halloween House. Again, digital edition is $3. Halloween print edition, you get the PDFs and a physical copy of the Halloween House Volume 2, or Volume 1, and then Volume 2 for $8. Getting both is $15, so I think that's reasonable, I guess. You can get a sticker pack as well. Stretch goals, $500. All their print copies will be signed. $700. Everyone who gets a print edition will get a secret prismatic sticker. Where are we at? 377. Maybe if we can get them to 500 and get all the books signed, that would be cool. But here's the story that is from last time. They're at the Halloween banquet, and they explain all the different things that they've done to scare people. And she's like, and the ghosts say, well, we haunted the trick-or-treaters from the shadows and made them shake in their boots. the werewolf says, I scared the children by howling at the moon. And Annie says, I severed this guy's head. And she sticks the guy's head on her dish. And they're all like, oh my God, what did you do? You've killed someone. Oh my God, no, that's not what we do here. You scare them, but you don't scar them for life. So it's kind of a cute little thing. And I like what she's doing with the different duo shades and zipatone effects in her backgrounds. So I'm pretty cool with this. So I'm definitely going to get it. And this is the Kickstarter link for that. Again, all the links to all of these will be in the description of the video as well, but just in case you want to see it on the screen. Okay, our next one is a series called Loose Threads. It's on Indiegogo by Mark Polton. They have surpassed their goal. Got 3 days left. The concept is what happens to your favorite comic book characters when their series get canceled. Let's hear what he has to say.
What happens to your favorite comic book characters when their series are canceled? A group of heroes break into the real world to track down their creators and demand to finish their stories so they can fulfill their destinies. Written by Mark Polton, writer and co-creator of Graveyard Shift. With art by Susan Madaro. Comes this beautifully illustrated 80-page graphic novel. Featuring a jam cover by the legendary George Perez and Susan Madaro. Loose Threads. Bag it. Only on Indiegogo.
Okay, that's not a whole lot said there. Of course, the characters are going to try and track down their creator at a comic book convention, and of course, demand that they finish their stories. The writer has written for Savage Hawkman, Graveyard Shift, and Reaper Destroyer, and it's illustrated by Cesar Madaro, which is the newer artist. I believe this is the cover, the jam cover that has the George Perez artwork here in the close-up face here. That's by Perez. And the rest is by Madaro. Here's some of the interior art. You can get the jam cover for $25. There's another cover by Chris Graves for $25. There's a black and white edition for $25. So there's a lot of different versions, of course, you can get. If I get this, I'll get the George Perez, since George has passed, and this is one of his last things he got published. I guess if you're a completist of the Perez era, you want to have it. The interior art looks pretty solid. The story is what I wonder about a little bit, but we'll see. It's an interesting looking dragon face there. This is the close-up of the Chris Graves cover. doesn't really do much for me, to be honest, but okay. Black and white looks more artwork for the black and white edition. I think I prefer it in color personally, but you know, it's not that the black and white is bad. You can also get this art book and connected with it as well. So you get that as well if you want. North Tree says, I wish more people would use Zipatone. Heard it's time consuming. It used to be when you did it by hand, certainly. I don't think it is so much with the digital as much as it used to be. Yeah. So there's that. Marv thinks the artwork is awesome. Cool. Yeah. I've used Zipatone, the traditional methods, many years ago myself. There's that. They're very expensive to find now. They're kind of out. They're almost impossible to find in today because everything's done digitally. So I don't mind them. I like that stuff though, as far as that goes. Emoji is a cool character. Only it's a female, not a guy. Still, I said digitally only. They're very expensive, guys. Marv says he'd rather do flat gray tones. It depends. If you're doing a book that's strictly black and white, I don't know. It depends on what you're using it for, I think, artistically, as far as that goes. There's use for both flat gray tones and the Zipatone. Well, it's not so much digital Zipatone. It's oh geez, I can't remember what it's called now. But it's just a certain like part of the program that you can do it kind of effects on, and that's what they're using on the manga, and what they're using on pretty much anything that looks like Zipatone is now done digitally. It's very little that is done traditionally, because traditionally you'd have to have these cellophane sheets that would come off of a sheet. You'd have to cut them and paste them a certain way and then affix them to the actual original comic book page. And they didn't always stick properly, or they would move wrong, and then they'd be stuck in the wrong position. And it can be really difficult to do those things sometimes. So the digital is the better nowadays. But let me go ahead and go back here. See Emoji's female. See the boobs. Just a big honking booby person with the boob window. Kind of a weird character. But anyway, but it looks like a cool character regardless. Emoji Saves Christmas, Ash Can Preview. There's a lot of cool stuff here, though. You can get a trading card for 10,000 as a stretch goal. 10,000 is pretty high. Where are they at? Well, actually, they got there. So I guess we'll get the sketch card. That's pretty cool. Stuff like that makes me wonder why Mark and Gladstone School for World Conquerors has such a hard time getting that money. You know what I'm saying? But I guess there's just so much stuff here, you know, from other artists and other things that, you know, but whatever, you know. Like I said, if I get, I'm not sure I'm getting this one or not yet, but if I do, I'll get the George Perez jam cover for 25 and be done with it. I'm pretty sure. We got 3 days left. I got some time to think about it. This is there. Loose threads. And actually, I think I know why Mark was able to get the money there. Unlike Mark, who doesn't have the ability to necessarily go on certain shows because he's over in Saudi Arabia and the time zones are really crazy. Mark's been on EVS's show, and he's been on Andy Smith's show, and he's been on our T-Bear show. So when you get on those guys, it tends to help build your ability to market and get some backers on it. So I think that's probably why they were able to do it. But again, there's the Indiegogo link, and of course the link is also in the description of this video if you're interested in that one. Sorry about that. My internet had a brief disconnect. Are you still there, folks? Yeah, North Free says grab what you can. Perez because he's gone. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. I'm muted. Can you hear me now? Yes or no? Let me know, because I had a disconnect on my video from the internet, and it came back on, but I don't know if I'm all here. Okay. Alrighty. This is the next one, Projectile Reptile from Brian Menard, also known as Dojo King Comics. I don't know if you guys remember Brian, but back when there was a certain individual that had kind of shystered his way of stealing a bunch of people's comics, and then was going to supposedly be a distributor but didn't distribute the books. He was the one who did the investigation work on that and gave a presentation on what he had found on that individual. We're not going to name names. Ultimately, the guys got their books back, but you know, Marv knows who I mean. But this is his book, and let's see what he has to say. Okay, we're gonna. Can you hear me now? I don't know what's going on. My internet keeps screwing up. Hopefully, it's going to stop doing that. I don't know why it's doing it, but I'm going to try and keep going here. Let's go ahead and get with the video.
Infamous gunslinger Desmond Gibbons, better known across the Wild West as the Cactus Kid, comes to the sleepy town of Clarkson. Trouble finds him in the unlikeliest of sources, the sheriff. After their conflict, the Cactus Kid finds himself inexplicably wearing the badge of a lawman. Later, while on the trail of a serial killer, he and his deputy run afoul of a powerful druid, and the events that lead to the Cactus Kid's transformation into the hulking, four-armed projectile reptile are even more than the druid bargained for. From the Wild West to current-day Los Angeles, where he meets superheroes Black Eagle and Red Hawk, and forms an uneasy alliance with the stunning but deadly Kitty Hawk. Join the projectile reptile on a journey of gunslinging druidic magic, superheroes, and artifacts. Projectile Reptile from Dojo Kun Comics, only on Indiegogo. Are you ready for the truly Wild West?
Okay, yeah. Kind of an interesting little story there, isn't it? He has been publishing for quite a while. So, I don't know what all they've got here. They've got a Kitty Hawk tier. The regular tier is digital for $12. The regular cover is $25. The one Various Renzo Rodriguez cover is $25. Siamese catch-up tier means you get this book plus the Siamese comic he did earlier. A Shelby Robertson hardcover edition is $40. So it's okay. It's an interesting idea. I'm not sure how much of the stuff is going to be cutting to present day with superheroes and how much it's going to be Western, but we'll see. The Shelby Robertson cover looks pretty cool. Mm-hmm. Here's the interior art. The figures are okay, but I think a lot of the backgrounds are a little bit weak. At least on I don't know. It just looks like it to me. I don't know. For 100 first 100 backers, they're past that, I'm pretty sure. No, they're not. So you can still get their, if they get to the 100 backers, they'll probably get his $5,000 fixed goal, and then everybody will get the magnets. Then there's some additional prints that are being offered as well as add-ons. So. And there's chibi stickers that you can get as well. So there's quite a bit of stuff. The second printing, of course, of Siamese. That's a mature reader's book, comparative. And then there's a mint tin game that can be added there. And there's additional stuff as well. Let's go ahead and add that banner real quick here. There it is. And go ahead and check that out. He's got a lot of stuff that he's been publishing over the last few years, so he's kind of thrown together a lot of the stuff that he's got left over in this, it looks like to me. Stretch goal, the metal trading card cover, okay, whatever. I'm not fans of that stuff. An 8-page chapter with another character, okay. Acrylic standee, okay. I like the idea of the figure better than I do the standee personally. That looks pretty cool, especially if he got them painted and not just that, but and then he has a challenge coin, which is interesting enough too, because I know other people who have done those, and those can be pretty interesting to get. So, this one I'm not entirely sold on yet, but I might. How much time do I have? I got 6 days to think about it. Okay. If I do get one, it'll probably be the Renzo Rodriguez cover. I don't know, though, yet. We'll see, though. Yeah, he did do a great investigation. He had to take the video out, though, because the individual wanted to sue him or something over it, and he was like, it's not worth the fight. But just for that reason, I included it in here, because I figured, what the heck, for all the good work he did to expose that individual, I figured, we could at least look at his stuff as well and give him a shout out. So go ahead and check that out. Projectile Reptile on Indiegogo.com. All right. Our last one of the crowdfunding discussion today is Fiendish, Chapter 2, Origins by Irene Strachowski. Reenie's been doing very well. 4 days left. She's got over 100,000. 113,000 now, over 1,300 backers, 4 days left on the campaign. This is the second book. You can get the first book as part of your order. Let's see what she has to say. She had a really good video. Wish I had that kind of skill. But yeah, this is a 70-page book, second chapter, following up from the first one, Demons. It'll basically, you can get a preview read of chapter 1 if you go to that page and look at that. There's the Fiendish 2 Classic 25. That's her cover. The alternate cover is $25. If you get Fiendish 1 and 2, Catch Me Up, it's $45. That's probably what a lot of people are going to get. If you are a retailer, you can get 10 copies for $220. Not bad, actually. You're going to make some profit on that, potentially, I think. You know, I don't know. There's a wood burning portrait. Okay, that one's sold out. So there's, you can get a lot of stuff there. But the cover, of course, is a classic by Irene, and there's the alternate cover a little bit closer there. I like Irene's cover better. I just do. Yeah. Not that the artwork by Pleagle and Basco is bad. It's just, I don't know. I just like Irene's better. And then there is a all natural cover. It's only available if you buy everything or during her streams on Red Valkyrie, which I don't know what that is exactly. She talked about the characters a little bit. Here's some of the interior pages. It's a nice looking dark fantasy comic, I think. And I will probably get the Fiendish 1 and 2. I just haven't pushed it yet. But fight scene looks pretty interesting there. Of course, Fiendish 2, $25. Catch Me Up is the Fiendish Classic, and Fiendish number 1 with a brand new cover. For $175, you get every single item in the campaign and otherwise limited time items. There's add-ons as well. I'm really not, I don't know why people like the standees, but okay. The Regrowth art book is cool. I'll probably add that because that's your art book. I don't know if I'd want to. No, it's a huge map, actually. It's over it's 2 foot by almost 2 foot across. So, okay, interesting. There's a Dan Lawless print. There's a close-up of the standee again. There's her world map for her lands. And there was the wood-burning character portrait, which is pretty cool looking. But that, I mean, that's a one-time thing. There's only one of those, I'm sure. Stretch goals, she's reached 4 of them. If she gets to 110K, she'll get 4 more pages of world-building content. And if you get 120, you'll get the mini print by Dan Lawless. So quite a bit of stuff there to get. Let's see. That is not. What is going on here? Why is it doing that? Yeah, there we go. There's the link for Indiegogo for her. And I'll definitely be getting that. Good music, yeah. The music was good as well. The music, I don't know who it was. She mentioned who it was by at the end of the video, but I didn't catch it. But it is what it is. Let's see. All right. That is all of our crowdfunding travels for today. So now we get into the fun stuff, which is, what did I get the last 2 weeks? I got quite a lot of stuff, actually. We start with Accelerator, Active Shooter. From Phoenix Productions. Phoenix Productions. That's Tom Fellrath, who wrote the story, with art by Teri Sue Wood, also known as Resa Challender. Actually, she goes by Resa now, Teri, which she used to go by. The genre is superhero. It was released. I received it on September 29th, 2022. I think it was shipped out a little bit earlier than that. Just over 30 years ago, high school student Jen Warner found herself trapped inside a superconducting super collider during a high school field trip. Miraculously, she survived and imbued with superhuman speed and impenetrable skin. She thus became Accelerator, the fastest human on the planet and hero of Sky City. Now married, settled down, and retired from heroics, our newly empty nest wife and mom is at a crossroads in life, unsure to do what to do with her life. But fate intervenes, and a catastrophic flood in Iowa leads her to put the hero suit back on. Coming out of retirement, she makes a number of daring rescues that captures the imagination of the country. Returning home, what awaits her is an active shooter who has taken hostages at a nearby school in her hometown. Can she stop the shooter and rescue the hostages? As the cover here says, it's been 20 years since we've seen Teri, Resa on the comic scene. While she has done some online comics and a few pinups here and there, nothing really in print. There were some personal life situations, including the death of her sister, Jatina, which put her in a mental funk, and she's just, she had to take time away from comics and get her heart and her mind right. And she's been sorely missed by those of us who have enjoyed her work in the past, and Amazing Heroes, her series Wandering Star, and Dark Light. The fact that Teri did this was, of course, why I bought this one-shot story. It is a rather short 8-page story, and most of what I just explained as backstory is actually told by Fellrath in prologue in text. The comic itself is a silent story, or no dialogue, in this edition, because this is the artist edition. I didn't get the actual other edition. There might be a script on there, I don't know. Because of that, I may have misunderstood when I ordered, but that's okay. The artwork is solid, and Reese's art tells a story more than well enough. But the story is what you would expect from the plot. Hold on a second. Yeah, okay. There's one thing I didn't like, and that the shooter repeatedly fires at our heroine, and he's got a machine gun, semi-automatic, like AR-15 type gun. And she's shooting, and all the bullets ricochet off of her, but nobody else gets hit by the bullets ricocheting throughout the classroom. And that should have happened, and at least one student should have gotten hit, in my opinion, which would have outraged her, and that would have really ended the confrontation, because then she would have just gone after the guy and tore him up. I think that would have been a more realistic portrayal of such a situation. And I think it would have been an even more powerful message, because we live in these times where school shootings are becoming more and more commonplace. And some of our people in society say that we need to arm our teachers with firearms, or we need to have more armed guards in our schools. And I think that showing even a superhero wouldn't be able to entirely protect everyone in such a scenario would drive home the message that we need to do other things and bring more guns and potential for confrontation into these situations. Because this is an artist edition without the script, and again, I'm assuming there's another edition that had a potential script to it, I didn't get to read the reasoning for the shooter's actions, but it seemed to have to do with a girlfriend or spouse dumping him and leaving him, and him wanting to confront her. It wasn't quite clear enough, but it was clear that Accelerator, as angry as she is at the guy, also recognizes that the shooter has been a victim in his own way, and she can turn him over to the police instead of being a raging, vengeful vigilante, which is a good element to the story too. So it's a really nice short series, and I hope we see more of this type of work or other stories from Resa, be it more Accelerator with Tom or other stories in the near future. I do recommend it for ages 14 and up due to the nature of the story. There is one gunshot victim who gets shot in the stomach, but it's black and white, so you don't see a whole lot of blood, but it's, it is what it is. I think we can all understand it's a pretty serious subject. I give it 3.5 stars. And here is some of the artwork. Of course, this is the black and white stuff. It's interesting. Sometimes Accelerator looks like she's middle-aged mom type, and other times she looks pretty young. So, but, like I said, Teri really hasn't been drawing for about 20 years. So I can kind of give a little bit of relaxation on that, not be too critical. This is at an elementary school where the shooting takes place, and she goes in and she sees one person, like I said, that gets shot in the stomach, grabs her and gets her out to the ambulance real fast, and then she's like zooming through the halls, going and checking each place for who's safe and not safe. I'm grabbing the actual book right now. Show you a little bit more of the book. Here we go. Whoops. Little ash can type book. There you see the where she finds the one person shot, gets her out to the ambulance, and then starts zooming through to each classroom until she finds the one with the shooter. And you can see, plenty of bullets bouncing all over the place with kids all, it's very easily that they should have been hit, I'm just a little bit annoyed there with that. But basically when he realizes that he goes to shoot the kids and she runs in front of him and blocks it again, he kind of just gives up and gets the kids out of there. And then there's like I said, there's a little bit of an explanation, but visual explanation of why he did it, but not enough. But for 8 pages, it's not bad. Okay, our next book is August, Purgatory Underground, number 1 of 4 for $3.99 from Red 5 Comics. This is by Benjamin Morse. If you guys remember when I did the review on a book called We Are Scarlet Twilight, same guy. And this came out last week, September 28th. And what it's about, after a long interplanetary civil war ends, the once celebrated hero and secret agent Captain Abraham August finds himself in the center of an intergalactic controversy. Running out of time and options, he accepts a dangerous mission to a decaying planet and finds out that the war isn't nearly over. As this war ends, he finds himself a public pariah and scapegoat because he turned Mars into pretty much destroyed the planet because Mars was firing missiles, and he found a way to turn the missiles back on the planet itself to save his fleet, which caused massive destruction to the planet and killed, however many people were on the planet. So he's punished by being sent on a solo mission to a distant planet where there's some rumors. So, it is what it is. Let's see what Marv says here real quick. Here in Portugal, it's illegal to have a gun, and if you want one, you have to have a good excuse for that or be a hunter. This is why we don't have shootings. Well, most of the people who have guns actually are hunters, but you don't need the kind of guns that they're selling for hunting. That's the problem. We need to get rid of the type of guns that we sell as well in that respect. But yes, I understand what you're saying. I would love to change the rules of what kind of weaponry you can have, but it is whatever. Anyway, August is sent to a distant planet where he finds a fleet of rebel ships. And while he manages to shoot a few of those ships down, he gets shot down himself and crash lands on the planet below, where one of the local sheriffs collects him as the rebels try to kill them both. After they escape the rebels, the sheriff explains that the real situation on their planet is dire and how the rebels have taken over. And August is a little more than a little peeved to realize that his employers in the Federation didn't even bother to care about this planet and protect it. Now the population is largely being enslaved to mine fuel resources and will be killed outright if he and the handful of locals who are still free don't rescue them and fight back. What do I think? Well, it's a fairly solid setup for the first issue. It might be a bit confusing to some because it sets up as previously in, but I don't think there was a previous appearance for this character. And the story does explain everything that you do need to know, so I'm not quite sure why he chose to do that with a previously in description on the inside cover, but he did. The art is solid, and he switches art styles from sort of an 80s animation at the very start of the story. It's more like 2 or 3 pages, not a third of the book, but he goes to his more regular style after that. I hope that the rest of the series isn't as delayed as this was. This was supposed to come out in June, and it just came out this past week. So hopefully, so supposedly it was COVID delays because it was shipped. I think it was printed in Korea, so there was shipping problems, and the books were sitting on the boat waiting to be getting into the dock, and there's delays and stuff like that. But who knows for sure. I do like the series so far, but I don't like it quite as much as I liked We Are Scarlet Twilight. I think there's a bit more telling of the story than showing of the story in this book comparative to Twilight. And while I certainly think if Morse had shown some of the stuff he's quickly telling to get to the action, the pacing would be much slower and maybe would turn off some readers. So I'm not really criticizing him because he's sort of skating the line of not giving enough background to the readers to get to the action so that when the eventual reveals come in subsequent issues, the groundwork will be laid so that you understand why the story is taking the path it does. So I'm not going to criticize him for it. But for a first issue, it's a solid outing and worth your time. Recommended for ages 14 and up. I give it 3 out of 5 stars. This is the animation style artwork. Real quick early. In a way, it's kind of redundant in some of the cuts there. But it has a kind of that 80s He-Man filmation type art style there going on. And then it cuts to this style, which is his more traditional style, which I think is much better artwork overall, much more unique and detailed. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah. You don't shoot a pigeon with a bazooka. Right, exactly. And here's some more of the artwork there for August. That's where his ship arrives and he sees all the fleet of the other people. And again, he does shoot a few ones down, but he gets hit himself. As you can see, he's kind of in flames already there. So our next book is Beyond the Beyond, number 4, for $5.99. This is the last of this arc. Publisher Scout Comics, writer Christian Tropiano, artist Gian Fernando, colorist Beyond Color Lab. Lettering by Joel Rodriguez, genre science fiction, released September 28th, 2022. In this concluding issue, Nova and her ally Alejandro have to rescue her brother Sirius, who is being used as bait by the evil Sergei, who has been involved in the deaths of many humans, including Nova and Sirius's parents, or so it would seem. Can they defeat Sergei and his maniacal plans to terraform the planet and destroy all the planet's need of life forms to colonize it for humanity? There's not really much going on at the conclusion to this. I've talked about the first 3 issues a little while back. Sirius escapes on his own and fights Julian, that's Sergei's dumbass right-hand man, in the armor on the bottom right there, to the death in space, while Nova and Alejandro face off against Sergei, who, of course, it turns out died long ago and had his mind uploaded into the net and is now subsequently a robot. And they defeat the robot, but of course he's just uploads himself back to the net, and he'll be around some more later on. It's all rather tired and been done before. Given that the series was delayed months and months, issues shipped late all throughout the run, I can't say that I recommend it to you guys. If you want to try the trade collection, you might enjoy it as a trade, but I wouldn't go hunting for the back issues. It's a pretty paint-by-numbers plot and doesn't really stand out. Had a lot more potential to do something with this. They just didn't. And maybe they'll get there in the next story arc, assuming there is one. I don't know if the sales are good enough to get to the next story arc. But for now, it's just, recommended for ages 13 up. I do give it 3 stars because it's a middle-of-the-road type of book. But, if I had to go with this particular individual issue, because I'm giving it 3 stars kind of as a whole for the series, but this particular issue is more like a 2 compared to the other 3, because it was getting 3.5s on that, and that's how much of a disappointment this issue is. Here's some of the artwork. The artwork is nice to look at. This is where Sirius escapes. He tells the drone robot, "I'm thirsty. Can you see I'm dehydrated? Can't you give me some water?" And, of course, they give him water, so he hits the console with the water and opens his door and escapes. Kind of dumb, right? But it worked. And then this is Nova and Alejandro fighting against Sergei. And this is all of his drone killer bee-type critters that are going to reconstitute the planet or whatever. It's kind of weird. Our next book. Marv says he's got to go. All right. Hey, have a great weekend. You too, Marv. The next book is Jenny Book Zero Book 2 Homeland Insecurities number 4, $3.99 from Dark Horse. Writers Dave Dwanch and Brockton McKinney with art by Magenta King. Letterer Dave Dwanch with colors by Arnaldo Robles and Geraldo Filho. Cover art is by Magenta King and Dam. Genre science fiction action superhero. Released October 5th, 2022. What it's about. Director Santos's gargantuan beast, the Overking, is destroying Japan. Now in Jenny's first battle as a new Mega Commander Zero, she must confront this resurrected creature that killed her father. The newly formed T-Zero fights for their lives and the very fate of Earth itself, and there will be devastating casualties, and the mysterious Isabel finally makes her intentions known. I'm thinking I missed an issue of the series somewhere because I can't remember the story past issue number 1, which was reviewed back in May 19th of this year. So reading this was a little bit confusing for the first couple of pages, but it gets into the swing of things pretty quickly as Jenny fights the Mega Kaiju while Alpha Major, who's a male counterpart to her, goes and rescues her uncle from the bad guys. Unfortunately, right after he rescues her uncle and he's about to join Jenny in the fight, the Mega Kaiju kills him in an instant. Jenny figures out how to defeat their enemy rather easily, in my opinion, but the Death Cult members have rigged their plane when they afterwards, and her best friend and uncle also seem to die from the explosion, even though she threw them out of the plane and supposedly caught them in midair in her giant size stuff in her hands. So I don't know why they die, but they supposedly die. It seems a bit much to kill off the character's entire support group, but then they have the reveal at the end that Isabel is Jenny's mother. So obviously in the next miniseries, they're going to be establishing that more, and whether or not Isabel will be just manipulating Jenny as an agent, or will they actually build a real relationship. But overall, recommended for ages 16 and up. There's cussing, there's sort of hyper-violence stuff going in the book. I give it 2.5 stars for this issue. Wasn't really into it. I don't know if I'm going to read any more of the series. Again, I probably have issues 2 and 3. I just don't know if I've read them. Here's the artwork. Artwork looks nice again. Magenta King's a good artist. The coloring's okay. This is stuff by Arnaldo Robles. He does like the first 9 pages of the story, and then afterwards it's the Phil Ho guide. And it does look quite different, but I stuck with Arnaldo's art with the representation here. This is where they find out that her uncle is now being held captive by the Death Cult, and her friend, her male counterpart, goes to rescue, and it's kind of weird, Our next book is Junkyard Joe, #1, $4.99 from Image Comics, by writer Jeff Johns and artist Gary Frank, with colors by Brett Anderson and letters by Rob Lee. The genre is science fiction, released October 5th, 2022. What's about? Focusing on the eponymous robotic soldier, this prequel delves into the unfiltered wartime exploits of Junkyard Joe before Geiger's cataclysmic opening. I've never read the Geiger series by Jeff Johns, so I have no context of that. It's set at the height of the Vietnam War in 1972. I don't know if that's really the height of the Vietnam War. More like the aftermath of the Vietnam War to me. Height's more like 1969, 1970, in my opinion, but that's okay, whatever. Junkyard Joe follows a storyline where there's a squad of Army soldiers fighting for their lives in the jungles of brutal conflict. They soon discover that there's more than meets the eye of their latest squad mate, as cartoonist drafty Muddy Davis longs to return home from the traumatizing horrors of war in Southeast Asia. This mysterious soldier will change his life forever, and basically what he does is rescue all the guys from getting blown up, and Muddy's the only one who survives, and he sees Junkyard, and he's telling him, no, there was this robot, and they're telling him, no, there wasn't a robot, because if you keep saying there's a robot, we're going to put you in the nut house. What do I think of it? It's pretty much exactly what I thought it was going to be. Jeff Johns retelling G.I. Robot stories from DC Comics in the 1960s. The first G.I. Robot was named Joe and appeared in Star Spangled War Stories #1 in 1962. The visual design of this character is very much like Jake 1, which is the 4th or 5th G.I. Robot from DC in the 1970s. So it's blatantly obvious that this is what Johns was doing, and he took an old DC pitch that got rejected and is doing his own version of it anyway. Now, I'm not going to say that the book is not well executed for what it is, but I can't help but point out that if it was someone not named Jeff Johns, someone not of his caliber of stature in the business, had pitched this very same project, Image, and pretty much any other publisher in the industry would have turned it down for being a blatant knockoff. Recommended for ages 16 and up. I'll give it 3.5 stars because it is a well-executed series, but at the end of the day, it's just kind of there, It's before we get into the, it looks like a Kubert Ward comic in a way, yeah. let me grab it real quick if I've got it. I thought I had it right by me, but apparently I don't. Or is it over there? It's over there. Okay, just give me a second. I knew I had it somewhere nearby. Gary Frank's art is nice for what it is. They've already seen the body get blown up, and then they realize he's a robot. The whole squad sees that. And he just protects them as much as he can as they go through the jungle trying to get where they're at. They get blown away, though, because they strapped a bomb to this animal that got close to them and blows them up. And of course, the only one that lives is the Muddy Waters guy. But he goes and gets revenge on the people who killed his squad, basically. Wipes out the entire village. And then we find out that the whole thing was a robot that was being surveyed by scientists for the Pentagon, and Nixon's like, nix this whole thing. We don't want to do this anymore. So, there you go. But it's it's an interesting book. But if it was anybody else other than Dunn, than that, I don't think it would have been getting made. Yeah, well, it's there. It just came out this week, so it came out on Wednesday. So make sure you check that out. Our next book is Mega: Rise of the Black Swan, number 1 of 2. Publisher Stonebot Comics, Red 5 Comics. It's $7.99. Writer-artist Salvador Sanz with translation by Chris Ortega, lettering by Camilla George. Genre science fiction, released September 28th, 2022. What it's about? Well, if you remember from when I talked about Mega a few months ago, for the first miniseries, it's about a young girl named Tina and her father Edgar, who are caught up in an ancient battle when Edgar's father and others who were members of a secret archaeological society charged with guarding the keys that keep these giant kaiju monsters buried deep inside the earth are killed when one of their group betrays the rest of them. Edgar's father, Tina's grandfather, has entrusted her with a special horn that can call the kaiju Mega when needed to face the supernatural kaiju known as the Phoenix, similar to the salamander kaiju from the last series, but this one has wings and can fly. Why they call it the Phoenix in the comic and not the Black Swan, like the title suggests, I don't know. But they call it the Phoenix in the story. Edgar tries to make the horn work, but he can't make it work because it's attuned to Tina as its owner. And while he does not want to get his 6 to 7-year-old daughter involved in this whole mess, ultimately he has no choice. While he's getting attacked by mini kaiju at their house who was looking to steal the horn, luckily they had it safely hidden, or actually they didn't. It's just that the mini kaiju wasn't smart enough and thought that Edgar would be the one who had possessed the horn, so they weren't looking in Tina's bedroom. She gets the horn, makes the call, and awakens Mega. There is another scene in the story similar to the ones from the first 2-issue miniseries, which I covered last March. That would be the March 24th episode, if you care to go back and look in the archives, where we find out that Edgar suspects who is calling forth these dark kaiju. He just doesn't have the evidence. Well, Tina finds the evidence in this story when she finds a mini kaiju, the one that attacks her father, actually, in the teenager's yard in a tree nest when they go to visit this person that her father suspects. Unfortunately, she doesn't tell her father, and that screws things up. What's going on here? Okay. Yeah, okay. Well, I do like Salvador Sanz's artwork. Sometimes I think he writes a story deliberately with the leads being foolish or stupid just so he can continue the plot of the story. Tina not telling her father about the mini kaiju tree next to confirm his suspicions of Felipe is dragging the plot out too far, in my opinion. I don't want to see another series where Felipe is still baking mini cakes of countries to be attacked by dark kaiju with this weird cult sorcery. I want him to get defeated in this episode, or this, by next issue, with other people in the cult stepping up out of the shadows in future stories at this point. So here's hoping that's how the second part of this two-part story will resolve itself. But overall, like I said in the first mega storyline, there's potential for a TV series for this as well. Recommended for ages 13 and up. Rating 3 out of 5 stars. Here's the book. Again, very nice cover. Sorry, it's got that glossy stock cover there. The artwork is nice. This is Felipe with his plans. He's sleeping. He's got his little mystical knife. And he's dreaming of his plan of what he's going to do. And then they go back, cut to Tina, who's going to be with her mom and her dad. And her dad's taking her to visit the mom of Felipe because he suspects of what's going on. And they're on this little road trip. And she explains she's been having these dreams from her grandfather about someone named Felipe and not to trust him. And of course, that's when her father's like, oh, we're going to see a Felipe. Maybe that's who you mean. But she doesn't tell him enough. And there's the crazy cake that is made into the form of the country. And here's where Tina finds the little mini kaiju inside the tree hole, like a bird's nest inside a tree, or another critter's nest inside of a tree. And Felipe tells her, stay away from that. Don't get any closer because that might come out and strike you type thing. And that's when she realizes that he's kind of the bad guy, but she doesn't tell her dad. So here he is baking a cake, like what's in his dream. It's going to erupt and cause more kaiju problems. So, again, I like the artwork. The storyline's okay. When the monster emerges, grabs a bunch of people, its talon-like fingers, and squishes them, basically, in between his hands. It gets nice and bloody. So, so he's trying to figure out how to get a hold of Mega. And, of course, like I said, Tina ends up being the one that does it. So whether or not they actually succeed and stop Felipe, we'll have to wait and see. Okay. Our next story. Okay, now this is a long one. This is Orbital number 1. Volume 1 stars 11.95. There's 8 volumes. We're going to talk about all of them real quick. Sylvan Rumberg and Sergei Pillay are the creative team, with lettering by Imogen, translations by Jerome Sang Canton, genre science fiction. All the ISBN numbers are listed as I go into each book. These were originally released in May 2009 through like 2012, I think. I got these a long time ago, but I hadn't read them. I bought these like a year and a half ago, and I hadn't read them. And I'd meaning to, and I finally got down to sit down and read them. What it's about. In the 23rd century, humanity and another alien race, the Sanjar, are allowed to join the Interworld Diplomatic Office Agency, which is an intergalactic multi-species organization that's existed for 8,000 years. After these two, as long as there's pages with kaijus and not humans, yeah. Well, there are, I know that, it's, got a lot of the story there, but, there are some kaiju in there. Mostly the Phoenix one. They don't show Mega much in this one. Let me see real quick if I think at the very tail end they get into showing Mega. Nope, that's still Phoenix. Okay. I think they show Mega once. Yeah. When she blows the horn, they show Mega arising from the ocean. So there you go. But yeah, most of the action is going to be next issue. But anyway, the humans and the Sanjar were in a fight, a war. It's finally come to more of a peace settlement. Humanity is seen as belligerent and underdeveloped, and the Sanjars, while they were a member of this group before, they had chosen not to get involved with interplanetary relations before their confrontation with humanity. As a sign of the two races agreeing to end their hostilities, two individuals, Caleb, which is the right guy, human male, and Mizoki, a Sanjar who looks female, but their race's gender is not necessarily as appearances would have you believe. They don't reveal their gender identity in the story. They're paired up together as assignment by the IDO and trained as special agents to work together. This is a very controversial pairing, and the duo are being overseen by many parties as they are sent out on their first mission, which is to stop a war from breaking out between a human colony and the alien Javlods over possession of the planet Sinistem and their rich resources that the colony is mining and selling. What do I think of this story? It's a reasonable introduction with 50 pages of story. We meet the main duo, Caleb and Mizoki, and we see some of the rest of the IDO who are pretty much anti-human, racist, speciest, whatever, and they are surprised when Mizoki protects and defends them against their bullying tactics. The training part of the story moves by a little bit too quickly for my taste, but they do have to get to the core of the story on Sinistem and the threat there. Of course, the main problem there isn't just a conflict between a colony and the alien race who wants to take over the mining operation because it's their planet and they want the resources and financial gains for themselves, but it's also about the eco-disruption and the colonists having angered a localized indigenous species who are attacking the mining colony as well. Caleb and Mizoki are making progress, but are unaware that there is an anti-IDO faction within their colony and within their own ranks who plan to kill everybody involved. They have to overcome these obstacles while still learning about each other and put their own personal race war history behind them to succeed. Sylvain Rumberg's writing is respectable enough, but it's Sergei's Pelle's and his art that is the real charm of this book. While some would say that it has a Valerian feel to it, and I can see where that comes from, and they are both French or Franco-Belgian comic series, so I get that. I would say that the relationship of the core duo is significantly different from that of Valerian and Laureline, but since Valeria is a much older series, sure, it's fair to think that it would have had some influence on Orbital as a series. This series originally appeared in France and Belgium in 2006, wasn't produced in English until 2009, but I didn't come across it until 2019 or 2020, had to order it from the publisher, Cinebook UK, directly from England and have it shipped to my house because Diamond wouldn't get it for me. But it's been sitting on my bookshelf, partly because this series is really similar to one of my own personal properties that hasn't been released yet, and I was concerned that reading it would then make me have to go back and rewrite my own work. But thankfully, what I'm doing, while it does have an IDO-type organization, my lead characters are fugitives on the run from them and are not members of the group at all. So this is a good start overall. It's recommended for ages 12 and up. I give it 4 out of 5 stars. Book 2, this was released in July 29. They're a little bit more expensive, $13.95. This continues the story from Book 1 as Caleb acts as mediator between the warring factions while dealing with the attacks from the indigenous insectoid creatures called still vols, while Mizoki travels to the planet Upsala to try to resolve versus the issues with the Javlots. We are also introduced to some important new characters, and again, as I said, they have to deal with the obstacles of the anti-alien factions who are trying to sabotage the whole mission and kill everyone off. This kind of gives it kind of an aliens type feeling, you know. The plot works very well. The characterization of Caleb and Mizoki is consistent, and there are numerous scenes where Mizoki is a complete badass on their own. Remember, just that because they look female doesn't mean they are in that race, so I'm going to probably refer Mizoki as they, them, there throughout this as their qualifier. The still vols are going to remind you of the bugs from Starship Troopers or aliens or hunter bots in the Matrix. But the end reveal of the book is rather well done. Again, recommended for ages 12 and up, 4 out of 5 stars. Let me stop there for a moment. Since 2 is the book I have out of the bag, we're going to show you some of Sergei Pilet's art. Sergei Pilet. This is Mizoki, and she's basically going badass on everybody, shooting all these kind of critters. I've had a space series in development for a long time. It's called Obligatory Intergalactic Thieves. Hopefully someday I'll get it ready and have it out there, but I don't know. If you bought a copy of Wingman, you'd see some of the artwork from it. Here's some more of the artwork. I do love this guy's work. It's all him. It's his colors, all watercolor work over the art. Line art, very pretty stuff. Has a good color palette. This is where they find out that their own team is betraying them. It takes over the ship that they came in to the planet. And they're going to blow up the whole planet if they aren't careful. Some more of their artwork. Look at the angle of how that drives and brakes. I just love how it just lurches forward. Okay, that's all I'm going to get for that one. Speaking of Obligatory, let me go ahead and get a quick copy of the art book. Well, I thought I had it, but I don't. This is the art book I'm talking about. Wingman, or Lewis Bright Written Volume 1. This is from 2011, so that tells you how long ago I've had that series in development. Here's some of the artwork from it, design art, and a little bit of the background on the text there. This is Tina Blake, the lead, co-lead, I should say. Terror is her shape-shifting partner, and they are thieves, and that's their ship, the Cosmic Chameleon, and that's one of her transport bikes, hover bikes. There's a little more full-bodied drawing of Tina, and that is the actual first page of the series on the right. And that's kind of a it's supposed to be a 200-page graphic novel. So I don't know how long that's going to take to get done. So, but it's been developed for a long time, longer than Token. I can say that. I've got a lot of stuff that's been sitting around unfinished because of depression and because I had collaborators on them, and either I had to let them go do other projects or they passed away. So I haven't had people to replace them with. So it's that kind of a situation. But if I could ever get the right people to go back on those projects and focus, I'd be much happier person than I am. But hopefully I will get this stuff on the roll. But that being said, let's go back to Orbital. Nomads is volume 3. Came out in May of 2011. Caleb Swanee and Mizuki Azua return to Earth to work security duty for the celebration of the end of the human-Sanjar conflict. Mizuki seems a bit distracted, however, and discontented by the Sanjar representatives, which confuses Caleb, but before they can really discuss it, they are called to investigate an incident between Malaysian fishermen and a nomadic alien species called the Rapacoon, whom the fishermen believe are killing all the fish and aquatic life in their local fishing locales in the mangrove swamp. As the duo investigate the territory, they realize that the anti-alien dissident is threatening both the incident Rapacoon and it's possible, and that's a different alien entity that is causing the ecosystem problems, but it's also threatening the celebration event and could possibly cause an outbreak between humans and Sanjar again. Can the duo figure out what's going on, stop the tensions between humanity and the Rapacoon from escalating to violence, and still handle the tensions that still linger between their own races? It's a really nice change-up in story ideas from the first 2 volumes. A really interesting alien race in the Rapacoon, and the tensions between Mizuki and Caleb over the human Sanjar celebration were quite interesting as well. As usual, Rumberg has plotted the book very well, but there's lots of action and subplots going on. The art by Pillay is only improving from issue to issue. The Rapacoon are the aliens that you're seeing on the planet, are on the cover here, while they're in their little speeder ship there. He does a lot of really nice designs that really look really clean and unique. Does some really awesome watercraft as well, as evidenced by the cover scene that you see here. Rumberg does a great job weaving the 2 plots together and trying to show how the IDEO prioritizes the human Sanjar conference and celebration over the investigation at times, and how that upsets Mizuki, partly because they believe the investigation is more important than appearances of peace, especially when technically only one tribe of the Sanjar is being represented, and it's not their own, so Mizuki feels like the whole thing is a farce anyway. But the humans don't realize that this is the case. Imagine having a celebration at the end of the war between the Caucasians or whites and the Native American tribes, but only one tribal group was represented at the celebration. It's something like that. Runeberg doesn't really go enough into detail on that, unfortunately, but you get the idea. But he could have gone a little bit further with that. It's here that we start to seeing the mechanizations of the IDO and the corruption within the organization. This will lead to much darker and tougher complications for our duo moving forward. I give this one a 4-star rating. All these books are recommended for 12 and up. Orbital 4 Ravages, $13.95. Unexplained deaths in the mangrove swamp forest have not deterred the IDO authorities. The ceremonies for the human Sanjar celebration are going to continue as planned in Kuala Lumpur, despite the Mizoki's resistance and the growing disagreement with Caleb. But official optimism is soon dampened by news of new destruction closer to the city where the celebration is taking place. And when Nina and Angus, those are the two cohorts that are in the ship from the first storyline that you saw being attacked by the trying to think of the word. Anti-alien group. Angus is a living bioship, and the captain who's bio-connected to it. Anyway, they return with evidence about the identity of the entity that is the actual threat and responsible for the deaths of local ecosystems, fish, and other aquatic life. It happens to be an old enemy of the IDO Confederation, and the agents are forced to act in desperation to stop it before all is lost. And they may have to pay the ultimate price. What do I think? Well, it's all hell breaking loose as our intrepid duo have to go against the protocols and work with Nina and Angus to stop this deadly threat, and the results are disastrous. Things are fast spiraling out of control on Earth. Attempts to hide the truth, even temporarily, from the Sanjar are turning into exercises in plate spinning. It's all a dog and pony show for the conference to go off without a hitch, and there are just too many quarrelsome elements surrounding the conference for that to happen. Word travels fast. The death of the fisherman at the end of Volume 3 in the series is getting out. People are assuming it's the nomadic Hakun's alien's fault, and even Caleb can't deny that it's a possibility, but it needs further investigation, and tensions are making that impossible. Meanwhile, Mizoki and their boss are not really siding with Caleb either. Runeberg's script offers a satisfactory cause for the spate of deaths on Earth while accelerating things to put the IDO on the defensive the whole time. When the truth is discovered, they do what is necessary to save the day, as desperate a race against time as it may be. But the climactic sequence of events steals the issue. Without spoiling it, Caleb, Nina, and Angus all suffer calamity in trying to defeat the enemy, but the explanations as to how and why are a little bit vague. The issue could have stood to have a little bit more, could have stood to have been a little bit longer for clarification of what happened, particularly the Angus and Caleb, but that does get explained in the next issue. Pele's art is just improving issue by issue. It's really enjoyable to look at. The ending is a bit cliffhanger-ish, but it still resolves the key plots. It just leaves us wondering what happens to our characters next, because there are major consequences to come. Again, 4 stars. This is issue 5, Justice. The IDO basically now turn on our heroes after they've saved the Earth and turned them into scapegoats, as Nina, Angus, and Caleb struggle to survive the aftermath of the battle with the enemy, and Mizoki is put on trial for their actions. Mizoki escapes captivity and goes to free Caleb, who is in medical care in a coma, before the IDO try to awaken him and put him on trial as well, which would probably kill him. But she doesn't make it, and Caleb begins to exhibit changes that show him and Angus, the living ship, are now psionically linked. Worse, the entity that they thought that they had defeated in Volume 4 survived the battle as well, and elements of that enemy have infected both Angus and Caleb. While the political subplot and context are cool of this issue, what's going on with Caleb and being possessed by the alien entity is basically a Dark Phoenix knockoff plot and isn't particularly interesting. There's not enough of a relationship between Mizoki and him for her to legitimately keep him from losing control. It's more up to Angus, the living bioship, to try and do it, as Angus is gravely injured and trying to be regrown basically from scratch as a ship. So the plot in this volume isn't quite at the same quality as the rest of the series has been so far, but when you take into consideration that this has already been over 200 pages plus of story before the story starts to weaken, that's pretty solid writing by Runberg. And Pelley's art keeps the lesser plot moving along and visually strong. I give this one a 3.5 instead of a 4, but it's still a good story. Resistance is volume 6. After escaping and fleeing Confederate space, Caleb and Mizoki are hiding amongst a community of exiles who are disgusted with the corruption and violence infecting the IDO and the government of the Federation. Caleb is slowly recovering just as Angus' living bioship is doing on a different world, but the entity still infects Caleb, and a powerful, dangerous psychic link between Caleb and Angus threatens to expose them all and consume Caleb as they are hunted by both bounty hunters from the IDO and a terrorist group. With nowhere to run, Caleb embraces the entity consuming him, and he retaliates against everything, but at what cost? This is pretty much the weakest volume of the storyline. Again, it's just Bloomberg doing his take on Dark Phoenix, Tetsuo Shima from Akira. It's technically well executed, and it's enjoyable enough for what it is, but when you've seen this plot so many times in comics, it does feel cliche and trite, regardless of how well it is executed. The only good thing is that it does drop a nice bombshell of a wider threat at the end of the chapter, and that now all of Angus's fellow neuronemes, that's the name of the bioships, have come back to our galaxy, but they've all been infected and can now blow up as the equivalent of nuclear bombs. And they're scattered across 250 different planets throughout the system, and that's too big of a threat for even the IDO to try and take on. So you want to keep reading to see what happens with the story next. The art, again, is what carries this volume, because, again, the plot is pretty cliche, as I said, but at least the cliffhanger to lead into the next arc is doozy. This one's only a 3 out of a 5. Again, like I said, the storyline going to that Dark Phoenix, Tetsuo type stuff is just there. Orbital number 7, Implosion. Caleb, Mizoki, and Caleb's little sister Christina are now intergalactic criminals after Caleb's destruction as the Dark Caleb. Everyone in the galaxy considers him an entity of mass destruction. This makes things tough for them as they need to steal things and work the black market to get the money they will need to survive and get all the stuff they need for goods and services. Going to the underworld planet after a crazy heist to steal alien eggs to trade for cargo. The trio find themselves chased by multiple alien species, as well as having the IDO continually on their trail. The neuronemes, suffering from the same affliction as Caleb, are starting to implode and commit suicide rather than be consumed by the darkness, but doing so is akin to blowing up atomic bombs, so they aren't just ending themselves, but taking tens to hundreds of thousands of persons in their immediate blast radius with them. All the while, there is a Confederate civil war, and factions of the IDO are politically battling for control of the whole government in IDO, which means nobody's really doing anything to try to help the neuronomes, not neurodrones, neuronemes, I should say, so that they don't blow themselves up. Yes, it's always much more important to prove who's in control than actually resolve the problem at hand, don't you know? The solution to this whole problem lies with Angus, and nobody knows that yet. Rumberg does a really nice job of returning to elements of the story previously set up in earlier installments, all the way back to the first book, and having those elements play the role of moving this overall series forward. Few authors are capable of doing this in modern comics. It's somewhat commonplace to do it in quality science fiction, prose fiction, and I would say Orbital is certainly paying respects to that in a much more truncated manner. Reading this book, this series chapter by chapter as an individual volume, as it was coming out, would have been excruciating for me to read, waiting for each installment. But if you read it all straight through like I did, it is an excellent flow, and it reads like a solid original graphic novel, and each volume's 50, 60 pages But keep in mind, those 50 to 60 pages were coming out 2 and 3 years between volumes. So yeah, you'd lose interest if you had to wait for each individual one, in my opinion. There's a lot to the Confederacy and its varied species of aliens that never truly gets explored, and I think that weakens the plot a little bit because it never truly justifies the Civil War that's going on, explaining which side is which or who's on whose side, other than a scant few characters vying for direct power as the overall leader of the IDO, which doesn't really, I don't know. I won't say it's a figurehead, but in a lot of ways they don't have the power that they think they do. And while that information about the other races isn't necessary to the plot, I think exploring it would have, if this had been done in a prose science fiction story instead of comics, it would have been explored more. And I think it would have been better as a result. Pele's art is still good, but it's like he's just a little bit off in this issue. There's some different depth perception quirks, line art that looks a little bit rushed. Faces aren't always on model. I'm not going to say he's losing interest, but maybe nearing the end of the storyline, he's beginning to run a little low on the energy for it. Or it could be he's just drawing a bit more loosely as the series goes on and letting his color painting work be his focus, which changes the end results. Some would say this weakens his work comparative to previous issues. I don't know if I agree, but I could see why people might think that way. Only one more book to go. Will our heroes prevent intergalactic disaster? It's a little bit improvement, 3.5 stars. And then Contacts is our last one there. This is the final chapter of the series for now. The Confederacy wisens up, realizes that the Neuronemes are the victims of the same dark matter that nearly consumed Caleb, and that there isn't a war going on other than internally amongst each other, which needs to end if the galaxy is going to survive. They stop hunting Caleb and Mizoki as criminals, and instead task our heroes with solving the mystery and saving the Neuronemes, and subsequently the galaxy and the planets that the Neuronemes are endangering. Can Caleb and Mizoki solve the puzzle as they travel to a distant planet as a last-ditch effort to try to understand the threat of the dark entity and end it once and for all? The series concludes, for now, on a high note, as Runberg manages to keep the plot fast-paced with both main plots of the Confederacy trying to politically not destroy itself from within, and the constant threat of the time-bound Neuronomes quickening the pace and raising the tension throughout the story. He plays to his artist's strengths, and they are a well-oiled machine as a collaborative unit at this juncture. It's also a bit high concept in places, still easy to follow where Runberg is going. There is a big fat question left at the end of the book. There's a solid conclusion to the main story of the book, but there's an event that comes out of it that is left unresolved. Whether that's meant to be the hook for the next story arc remains to be seen. The good news is that it may indicate that there are more stories with these characters in the future, and they are quite entertaining characters to read. Pele's art, of course, is well done, and he's certainly influenced by Mobius and Mizieres, who does Valerian, but he has a little bit more fluidity to his figures and their sense of movement than either of those two artists tended to have. The other artists tend to be a little more stiff. He also seems to have a background in animation. I think that takes him to a little bit different level. It doesn't mean he's better than Mobius or Mizieres. It's just that he's able to take his art in a different direction that is his own, rather than being a flat carbon copycat stylist, like many of his American and South American contemporaries who still can't get past emulating Jim Lee and Todd McFarlane and doing it rather poorly at that. They don't know how to evolve. He has evolved, and as a result, his work is very fun to look at. My overall thoughts is this is a really well done series that I'm glad I came across, even if I'm a bit late to the party. Yes, it did get a bit cliche and obvious in the third act of the Dark Phoenix saga type stuff, but I can forgive Runberg for that because his finish and his world building are much better than what we're seeing in American comics on the regular. And so I'm willing to forgive him that. Highly recommended, especially if you're a science fiction reader, more so than a superhero comics reader. Again, recommended for ages 12 and up. In the overall series, I give a 4 out of 5 stars. Okay, let me take a breath. I was talking a little bit fast there, but we got a little bit more to go. We got Pink Lemonade. This is the Oni Press edition, #1, that just came out September 28th, $3.99. From Oni Press, creator Nick Cagnetti, with lettering by Francois Vigneault and Nick Cagnetti. The genre is science fiction fantasy. What it's about: a mysterious female stunt biker named Pink Lemonade, who has no memory of her past, is befriended by a comic artist and her young daughter. Pink Lemonade has dreams of being from another dimension and fighting against a tyrannical entity. When her dreams begin to bleed into reality, however, she has to decide how to face these forces if she ever intends to get her lost memories back and learn who she truly is. What do I think? Well, first off, this book originally came out in 2019, and I got it in 2019, and I reviewed it back then when it came out through the late Drew Ford's It's Alive Publishing. I also interviewed Nick Cagnetti in October of 2019 in season 1 of Quoth the Raven, and he has had his struggles with keeping the book on the market due to a number of factors. Now he's with Oni Press. This edition features the new cover, which is much sharper and more dynamic than the original version. He has a new letterer in Francois Vigneault that co-letters with him, which also has improved the presentation. I didn't notice all that much else changing in the first issue, but I don't know where my original copies are, so I don't have them side by side to compare at this time. I may decide to do a comparison in the future because I know that Cagnetti has made some story changes and art edition changes to the story for the Oni Press edition. As back in 2019, when I had Nick as a guest on the show and we talked about the book, I still feel like this is... Whoops, something's missing here. Whoop. Sorry about that, folks. Just give me a second. My computer's futzing here. That there is a very Mike Allred, Jack Kirby vibe to the book, and it's pretty obvious that the series is influenced in many ways by Kirby's New Gods and Mr. Miracle properties, but that Nick is also doing his own thing with it. It's not quite all ages material. I would say 12 and up, and Nick agreed to that assessment on our interview, so I'm going to, keep it there. Usually Oni Press gives some hint as to the intended audience age group, but I didn't find it on this edition. Nevertheless, if you do like the Kirby-era New Gods or Madman by Mike Allred, this book should be on your to-read list. I give it 4 out of 5 stars. Let's look at the art. She's racing through another dimension, fighting the evil Beelzebub type guy. And then she's in our world, and she's talking to different people. And this is while they're filming a show, and she goes ahead and grabs the balloon that supposedly got away from the kid and hands it back to the kid. Not knowing that it's a movie, that the balloon was supposed to get away, and that he was confronting Mr. Radical, which is the guy in big muscles there. She ends up becoming a stunt woman for the movies because of this. And it's interesting because her bike is kind of this weird scooter motorcycle blend. And, the headlights have eyes and there's lips at the bottom because the motorcycle does talk to her. So it's kind of a cool thing. Here's the cover comparisons. On the left, of course, is the current edition from Oni Press. This is the original from 2019 on the right. As you can see, I think there's a much more dynamic cover on that from the Oni Press edition. Not that the one that Nick did for 2019 was bad. Has a more of an indie feel to it, I think, underground indie feel to it. And I like it just fine, but I think that the Pink Lemonade cover for Oni is just a little bit more dynamic and interesting to look at. Which one do you like better? Okay, we got to keep going. We got more to review. We got Shudder number 7 for $6.99. Publisher Warrant Publishing. Writers are Don Glut, Billy Grimm, Bambos Giorgio, Lou Mogling, Artie Godwin, and James Allen, with art by Carlos Lamani, Nick Palilquo, Reno Manaqui, Greg Williams, Michael Bergfus, Rodel Nora, and Mansour Daman, with cover art by Sam Julian. The genre is horror, dark fantasy anthology, released October 5th, 2022. Interesting. North Free liked the right cover maybe a little bit better. That's cool. This issue, there are 7 features with 6 multi-page stories and the 1-pager on the inside front cover by Godwin and Pilloco. The first major story is Battle of the Beast by Don Glut and Manaqui as the artist. It's about 2 brothers, one's a vampire and the other's a werewolf, who fight each other to the death, only to find out it's not that easy. The next story is The Lost Patrol by Allen and Williams. It's about a World War II German Nazi patrol who run into zombies after they kill a local priest in the African wild. Third story is The Monster Maker by Giorgio and Lamani. It's about a monster makeup maestro, Ted Pierce, and his cast on the set of a film being stalked by, well, I don't want to spoil the twist ending, so I'm not going to say what they're stalked by. Area 51 by Grimm and Nora is your typical teenager sneak onto the base story, and what they find isn't what you might expect. The Undeadables by Glut and Damon Daman is your typical Elliot Ness era mob is actually vampire shtick, not that big of a story there. And The Djinn by Mugen and Bergfus is a black man gets beat up by racists, and a Djinn, a genie in the lab, offers him revenge. The best story of the lot was Battle of the Beast. Reno Manaqui just rocked on the art for that, and it has a nice twist ending. It was interesting seeing Greg Williams in the book. For those who don't remember who Greg is, he's the artist who does that Clore book that I did the promotion on his crowdfunding campaign recently, formerly known as Dark One, who did Animal Mystic for Serious Comics back in the 90s. I did not remember him being in the mag before, but maybe he has. However, other stories like The Djinn just didn't really appeal to me at all. And I would say I like the art of only maybe half the stories in this issue. Sometimes the guys do bang-up jobs, and other times they just aren't the right pick for the assignment, in my opinion. Recommended for ages 16 and up. 3 out of 5 stars. Here's the book. This is the inside cover story for Voodoo Zombies. That's fine for what it is. Nothing overly special. This is Reno Manaqui's stuff for the vampire versus the werewolf story, Battle of the Beasts. I wish it would. There we go. It's getting a little bit good. I really like the detail on his work. It's very clean, very crisp. Well done stuff. He does know how to do good layouts for his backgrounds and do things like that. He's probably one of their strongest artists that they've got in this magazine. on a regular, consistent basis. Again, one brother's a werewolf and one's a vampire, and they're fighting each other, and they end up killing each other. But they actually, like, I don't really want to give away the the ending, so I won't tell you. But they kill each other, but they don't. This is the Lost Patrol. This is the art by Greg Williams, who does Core and Animal Mystic. Really nice stuff. Here's the zombie attack. Now, The Monster Maker is a decent enough story for what it is, but the artwork is a little bit weak comparative to the last two, in my opinion. It's well done for what it is. Stylistically, I just like the other two guys better. Mm-hmm. A little bit more of that. He has decent likenesses of some of the actors that they're portraying in the story, so it's not bad. It's just not my favorite thing in the world. Here's Area 51. Pretty basic stuff. I'm not going to show you too much of the reveals because it's kind of ruins the story if I do. There's the Undeadables. Which, reasonably well done. And lastly, the Djinn, which again I think is kind of weak artistically. It has a nice 70s look to it. It looks like a 70s art type. But I'm just not that into it. The backgrounds are a little bit nondescript, and storyline it just didn't really do all that much for me. So there you go. There's Shudder. And that concludes all of our reviews for this week. I want to thank you all for watching. I'll be back at 8 p.m. Eastern to talk about our movie night. Tonight's movie is War of the Gargantuans from 1966, Toho Productions classic. We'll see what people think about that. I'll be joined by Monster Fan, possibly by Pop Culture Avenger, Probably North Free will be in the studio audience as well, so to speak. But we'll see what goes on there, and we'll see what I think about that film at 8 p.m. So I will see you guys then. Until then, though, if you liked this video, or you think others might, as always, I'd appreciate it. If you'd hit the like, share, subscribe buttons to continue to get support from my channel. As always, I thank you for watching and for your support. And North Free said he watched it again, so apparently it's one of his favorites. So we'll see what he thinks at 8 as well, probably. If you want to reach me on social media, Facebook, Lewis.BrightRaven, at Twitter at LewisBrightRave2. See more of my artwork at deviantart.com/BrightRaven. You've been watching Quoth the Raven, Lewis Bright Raven, exclusively at YouTube. Questions, comments, suggestions for content for future episodes, Quoth the Raven, LBR72@gmail.com is the address to reach me at. If I don't get back to you within a day or two, try lewisbrightraven@yahoo.com. That's all for now, folks. We'll see you at 8 o'clock. Have a good evening.